What's up, A to Z Sports here live on a Thursday. Going to have a big day today talking about the Titans offensive line. Back in studio, no training camp practice today for the media or Friday for the media. We'll be back out there for a double weekend practice, Saturday and Sunday. So, it'd be great if the Titans could have done, Friday, Saturday or Friday, Sunday. But no, we're going to have to be out there both days this weekend, bright and early. So going to have a good show today talking about the Titans offensive line struggling as the pads have come on at St. Thomas Sports Park. So the offensive line not getting much better. I'll do my little training camp report here. We'll also follow up the story that has gone national, an absolute viral story of the Jeff Simmons and Buck Rising battle. Jeffrey Simmons does the right thing. We'll talk about that briefly to put a bow on that storyline towards the end of the show, and it is the Magic Bucket Day here on a Thursday. We've got our full allocation of time, right? Our full allocation of time, which is great. There's no practice for me to rush to. I've already got my training camp neck tan rolling strong here after 2 days of a lot of sunshine there at St. Thomas Sports Park, which is great. But Jack, welcome in. Going to have a good show today, talking for a full hour or more here about the Titans training camp practices. So let's get this thing going. Tell the people what they got to do.
Absolutely. A full hour of Big Jeff first buck. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Don't leave. Yeah. If you guys are filing in, which I now see over 100 of you guys in the chat, and you haven't liked the show, I encourage you to do so. Please drop a thumbs up if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube. It helps us grow. It helps us reach new audience members. All that stuff's good for A to Z. It helps the chat. It's great for everybody. So please like the show. It really helps us out on the way in. If you're watching on Facebook, sharing is caring. Please share the show to at least one of your Titans Facebook groups. I'm in too many of them. I know you guys are too. If you can just share it to one, it takes 5 seconds. And just like liking the show, it helps us grow and it helps us reach people who maybe have never seen or heard of A to Z Sports before. And that's good for the company. We want you guys to be as much of a part of this as we are, and sharing that and bringing more people in grows the community. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do with the Titans fan base. So please share the show if you're watching on Facebook. Next, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to tap that bell icon at the top of your screen. You do not want to miss an update. It's already been a really busy week out at camp. It's going to continue to be that way as preseason games start to get rolling here in the next week and a half. So don't miss an update. Make sure you tap that bell icon, turn your notifications on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, text that Twitch link around. You may already be at work. You may be getting ready to get off work, or you may be getting ready to go into work. No matter which bucket you fall in, text that Twitch link to a coworker, text it to a Titans friend, text it to a Titans text group if you're in one of those. And that way, if you got a buddy at work who's dragging, or maybe you got a buddy who's getting ready for work who usually shows up late, then send it to him. We'll wake him up over here. We'll talk a little Titans. It's going to be the best of both worlds. Really fun show dialed up for you guys today. So, Austin, let's get the show on the road.
Yep, let's officially welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Jack Gentry of the Tighten Up Podcast, out now, A to Z Sports Podcast Network. And we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. And also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they truly make it happen for us, and they help out all of you guys, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Check them out online today to get a better rate and better coverage for your health coverage at our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So talking a lot of Titans O-line today, and a couple of things I want to get to in the chat. People asking, where is Zach? I've tried to bring this up as frequently as possible at the top of the shows for you guys that don't miss it. Zach working on a couple projects, and because I oversee Nashville, Zach oversees other things with our company as we've had to divide and conquer a little bit. Zach has no idea what's happening at training camp other than the Buck story. So Zach will be back in the season when the games start happening, and we'll mix Zach back into the fray here on the A to Z Morning Show rotation. But that's it as well. Also wanting to get to Bobby. Bobby says they They just can't stop clickbaiting. Bobby, you don't have to be here. I appreciate you being here if you want to. And Bobby, I saw some of your comments on our other content yesterday. And if you want to keep here and keep calling clickbait for all of us and the work that we're doing covering training camp practice for your favorite team, you can be here if you want to be here. You don't have to be. Nobody's asking you to comment. Nobody's asking you to watch. But if you want to know about what's going on with the Titans offensive line, then you can. If you want to know what's going on with Jeffrey Simmons, then that's here too. I also want to address this too before we get to it, because a lot of people are freaking out about the elongated conversation of us talking about Jeffrey Simmons and Buck. And Jack, you, Sam, and I in our pre-show conversation had the chat, like, it would be unfair if we did not cover Jeffrey Simmons' apology like we covered Jeffrey Simmons' mistake. That is what is the most fair thing to do. So in the whole 36 hours since this began, we will cover the beginning of it and the end of it, and then we will move on. So Bobby, welcome in. If you want to clickbait us to death, you can absolutely do that. But we are doing this the correct way, the fair way. So that's how we're going to cover this thing today. And that's how we're going to cover every Titan story. You cover it fairly, completely. And so that's what we'll do here on this show. And then we'll move on, just like the world moves on with the news cycle. So Jack, okay, let's dive into some offensive line talk today, because I'll say this, the offensive line is a problem, right? And it's been a problem for a while. We'll dive deeper into the offensive line problems and woes. But first, I want to tell you guys all about our great sponsor that's with us all training camp long, and that is Smoky Mountain Tops. They've been serving family-owned and operated, serving the state for 30 years. They have locations in both Nashville and in Knoxville, and you've seen Smoky Mountain Tops work in Bridgestone Arena and Neyland Stadium. So if you want to upgrade your kitchen or bath countertops, call the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops. Smoky Mountain Tops is proud to offer the luxurious Handstone Opimio quartz collection in both of their studios. You can see that on display in Nashville and Knoxville. Handstone quartz is known for their quality and exceptional design, with over 50 colors and unique patterns to draw your inspiration from. So call Smoky Mountain Tops to schedule an appointment and see the beautiful Handstone Opimio quartz. Their number is 615-922-6539. And Bobby, you can check them out online at SmokyMountainTops.com as well, and tell them that you heard about Smoky Mountain Tops on A to Z Sports. Okay, so Jack, the pads have been on for 2 full days of Titans practice. And I say this, at times, the offensive line has been so leaky that it's hard for me to see Will Levis and truly evaluate him. I was on the phone with somebody just, hey, how's Will Levis look out there? And my answer was, he's going through it. And it's not like Will Levis is playing bad. It's the fact that Will Levis is getting pressured just about every snap. So I want to show this graphic we put together. That's a collection of 6 tweets during practice the last couple of days with pads on. And I'll start on the left side. I believe these are mixed between Tuesday and Wednesday at practice, but this was, I know, from yesterday. Titans team period, 12 plays total, 3 sacks. Landry Weaver, Joseph Day. Devondre Sweat blows up a run play, cleaned up by Roger McCreary. Shane Ray just got home for a sack on Levis during team period. Will Levis facing pressure nearly every drop back at 11-11. Right side of the O-line is the most frequent culprit, which is, I guess, is why Sam identified John Ojukwu for the person on this graphic. That's doing him kind of dirty, but hey, he's definitely one of the most frequent culprits. Jeffrey Simmons blew up a screen pass during team period, was all over Tajay Spears in the backfield. Jack Gibbons slices through to tackle Tony Pollard for a big loss on a sweep left. The Titans O-line isn't stopping much of anything. So if you notice something, Jack, you've got Devondre Sweat, Shane Ray on Levis, Will Levis facing pressure, Jeffrey Simmons tackling Tajay Spears in the backfield, and Jack Gibbons getting back there on Tony Pollard. That's first team starters, first team starters, right? That is the first team offense on the right side. The toss to the left to Pollard on that side. It's been rough, to say the least, for the offense the first couple of practices and pads. What's your reaction to seeing that update from the offensive line work?
Yeah, it's not encouraging, but it's also not surprising, especially coming off the year the Titans had last year. And I mean, you You upgrade the left side of your offensive line the last 2 seasons. You use a first-round pick on a guy over there. You bring in Lloyd Cushenberry, who could easily be a top 3 center in the NFL this season, if not closer to 1. But on the right side, right, like this is a concern that we all have, Titans fans, in the back of our mind. Even with Bill Callahan here, we know that he's not going to be able to turn water into wine over there on that right side. Like the Titans bought a cheap car this offseason. They made a cheap fix to the right side of the offensive line, so you can't really be surprised when the car breaks down. And when you're looking at the right guard position, the right tackle position, I mean, NPF hopefully he's back out there on Friday like Bill Callahan said he might be on Ramon, Kayla, and Will earlier this week. But at the right guard spot, I mean, Austin, you're out there. You know more than I do, but I'm seeing reports of Sadiq Charles struggling with conditioning. And if that's the guy that's the leader in the clubhouse for the right guard job, that makes me uncomfortable. Everybody shows up to camp in the best shape they've ever been in. And a guy like Sadiq Charles, who has an opportunity to earn a starting spot with a new team, is already lagging behind. That is concerning to me. And it's enough for me to go ahead, Austin, and make a way too early training camp prediction. I think Dylan Radin starts week 1 at right guard. I think that's where this thing's going to end up going. And I know that wasn't planned for the show, but I had to throw it in there. But still, like the right side of this offensive line is going to struggle this season. And they're going to struggle early. They're going to struggle early in camp. Can they play at a competent level? Can they not get Will Levis decapitated back there? If he's able to stay healthy all 17 games, the Titans have a shot to make the playoffs. Simple as that. But with the right side of the offensive line being such a problem already, I think Titans fans should temper their expectations.
Yeah, it's definitely been frustrating to watch because it seems like on just about every third snap or every offensive pass rep in 11 on 11, we're having conversations with the media sideline of like, did that player get to Levis? Was that a sack? Because you don't finish the plays in training camp. You don't sack the quarterback. So you just kind of run by them. And it's like, did Levis get the ball off or was that a sack? Like what? And so it's in offense for coaches, they want the play to continue because they want to see Levis make the throw, the receiver go make the play, the defender go make the play on the football. And so there have been times Nick Westbrook-Akine had a big catch down the field yesterday on what was probably a sack, but close to tell. There's been a touchdown here or there and some high red zone work that you're not really sure if the quarterback got the ball off or not. So it's been tough. And this is a lot of what we saw last year. And Jack, you threw this into our conversation this morning that this was from the 33rd team rate of dropbacks with a quarterback hit in 2023. I mean, Will Levis way leading the NFL in one of the worst categories you could possibly want. 25% of his dropbacks, he got hit last year. And to be honest, it's probably a very similar rate in training camp to this point. But I do want to bring in Brian Callahan, the head coach, and Lloyd Cushenberry on this conversation because this was Brian Callahan when asked about the defensive pressure applied on the first day of training camp after Tuesday's practice. Here's the head coach.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, we had some good work as the practice went on. They came out of the gates pretty hot and did a nice job that first period. I think we got a good defense. I think those guys play hard. I think the scheme is good. They're coached hard. It's fun to compete against them, and I think that it's going to make us better on offense as well. And I thought offensively we played better as the practice went on too, as our guys settled in a little bit more. You get used to it's a lot easier to come out on the attack sometimes on defense, and so we settled back in, and I thought did a better job as the practice went along.
Pressure that you're kind of comfortable with, as Jimmy said, the defense was getting after the pass pretty well.
Yeah, there was some. I mean, there was some that were good, and there was some that were bad. It's, it sometimes looks worse than on the sideline when you're watching it than assignment-wise and you see what's happening. But, there was some. We were soft in protection a few times. We gave up a couple free runners. That's why we're out here.
So I think when he says the defense is good, they're attacking. I see Pistol Rams saying the defense is serious, right? And I think that's the hard thing of last year. Remember, we were asking Arden Key after every practice, "Hey, Arden, how many sacks?" And he's like, 5, or 7, because he was getting after Andre Dillard every day. And what did that turn into? Arden Key not being a sack artist really at all in the regular season, but the offensive line was so bad. We were asking the question last year, is this a sign of Arden Key being a really great pass rusher or offensive line problems, and it was offensive line problems to the max. And we're seeing that a lot. And it's not just Arden Key. Arden Key is doing a great job with J.C. Latham, and I think J.C. Latham has definitely been on the better side of the offensive line, but, he's giving up plays as well to Arden Key. Then you've got Harold Landry, who's back after missing the first few days of a training camp, who's back out there making plays. Shane Ray, who I'm sure we're going to talk about here later in the week about him making plays. Harold, the Jalen Harold, the rookie 7th-round pick out of Michigan, is out there getting after people. You saw in the one tweet, Weaver, Landry, Sebastian Joseph Day, Jeffrey Simmons, Devondre Sweat. These are all defensive players. Jack Gibbons is getting the backfield, all guys that are coming from a bunch of different directions. And so it is a concern here. So what do you think about Brian Callahan's comments from the first day of practice?
Yeah, it's clearly, something that they're working on, and it's not fun to have to operate an offense around a bad offensive line. But Titans fans can, have some optimism because Callahan had to do that his entire time in Cincinnati. And the quick game is a big part of what Callahan had success with Joe Burrow up there behind an atrocious offensive line, and an atrocious offensive line that they spent a whole lot of money on, by the way. So it doesn't always work when you throw money at your problems. But, it's going to get better, hopefully, right? Like when you get MPF back, get kind of an answer at the right time. I don't want John Ojukwu starting week 1. That would, in my opinion, be a nightmare situation. John Ojukwu starting week 1, Jalen Duncan, Leroy Watson, any of those guys, anybody not named NPF starting would be a serious concern for me, and it'd be a big enough concern to where I'd have to go out and find a right tackle when camp cuts roll around. A couple comments in the chat I want to hit on because I think there's some good points being made. We'll start with let's see, scrolling up. Here we go. Is any of it Levis's fault, moving in the pocket wrong or holding the ball too long? And he was getting hit, like that graphic showed, in a quarter of his dropbacks. And Levis, as a young quarterback behind an offensive line who has to make quick decisions, it's not easy on him. But when you're playing behind such a bad offensive line, your margin for error as a young quarterback is already so thin that it's really hard for him to sit back there, gain confidence, kind of feel like he's building momentum and getting a rhythm behind an offensive line where you're seeing guys, in your face a split second after the ball snap.
I will say this to Bork's question. I don't think Will Levis is holding the ball too long. I think it's crazy that a lot of these sacks feel very instant. And it's like, because it's not just pass game. It's also in the run. Now, I will say Wednesday's practice, the run game had more lanes to have running backs run through. And I do think I think the first team defense is way better. And the first team defense is more talented than the first team offensive line right now. I think when you get into the second offensive line versus second defense and the third O-line versus third defense, I think the offensive line depth is probably better than the defensive front depth because you see the third team running backs having more room, and Malik Willis is able to get more accomplished through the air because he has more time than Will Levis does. So I think that's more of an offensive line depth compared to a defensive line depth. I don't think Levis is the fault here. There's times where he has no chance. In a game, does he bail early? I think I've seen some times where Will Levis has stood firm in the pocket, delivered an on-target throw where you say, did he get that off or would he got hit during the throw? Or would that have been a spot where the edge rusher goes at the football when he's pulling back to throw the football? I don't think we can put it on Will Levis right now. I do think it is very much an offensive line protection issue with a defense being very aggressive.
And the other side of this conversation, well, I'm gonna refer to it as Arden Key's law for the rest of training camp. Like, it's hard to understand what you have at pass rusher after last season where Arden Key dominated Andre Dillard and other tackles. Like if Shane Ray starts having a fantastic training camp, is that because Shane Ray has, found a second gear in his career, or is it because the Titans simply don't have enough at tackle? Like, that makes it hard on Brian Callahan to evaluate, Rand Carthon to figure out whether or not the Titans need another edge rusher. So bad offensive line play in training camp the trickle-down effect. Like,
Yeah.
it's really hard to know what you have at that pass rusher position when all these guys are doing are pretty much beating traffic cones to get to Levis.
Yeah. So I did want to get to another comment too. Kenneth says, I thought y'all said Radens got some reps at right tackle earlier in the week. No, Dylan Radens is a guard. He is a guard. He is a guard. Dylan Radens is a guard. Please, let's remember, Dylan Radens plays what position, chat? Guard. Dylan Radens is a guard. He's not a tackle. He's a guard only right now. And for Nicholas Petit-Frere, NPF should be back on Friday. Which is not a day the media will be out there, but that's what Bill Callahan told media on Monday morning, was that they've had to push NPS return back to Friday of this week. Hello, ladies. I see you trolling there with that Dylan Radens question. So, okay. Let's go ahead and get to the question for everybody here, because we've talked a lot about the offensive line struggles. So what is your concern level with the Titans O-line at this point in training camp? And we'd like to do this on a 1 through 10 scale, 10 being you are freaking out. You think this is the second coming of Andre Dillard's offensive line from last year, but 1 is you are cool as a cucumber and you have no problems with the offensive line taking some heat so far in camp. But what is your concern at this point in camp for the Titans offensive line struggles on a 1 through 10? Man, a lot of comments flying in here from the chat, so we'll get to those here in a moment. But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans is where you should turn for all of your health coverage needs. FBHP.com/ATOZ is where to go. Farm Bureau Health Plans have been serving Tennesseans for over 78 years in the whole state, and they can help you out. And they've been working with us for 3 years or more with A to Z Sports. And so if you're looking to improve your health coverage, or just you want to save money, you can do both of those things by checking out our link at FBHP.com/ATOZ. And I've been saying this for a couple weeks and I keep saying it for the whole month of August. By the way, we're in August. How about that? If you want to get better coverage for your health coverage for you and your family, or whatever your situation is, shoot me a DM on Twitter, Austin Stanley 81. DM me and I will give you the direct email contact to get the process rolling with Farm Bureau Health Plans. If you want to check them out yourself, FBHP.com/ATOZ.
Guys, we finally made it. There is an NFL football game tonight. The Hall of Fame game's going on. BetMGM, if you're a full-on degenerate and want to bet the Hall of Fame game, do it with BetMGM. Sign up, new users, plug in our bonus code A to Z Sports, and when you do sign up, you'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Make sure you check out who's playing on both sides before you do anything. Be responsible when you sign up, but definitely use our bonus code when you sign up. ATOZ Sports, once again, you get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses.
All right, so no Titans practice today for training camp. So the last couple of days, 2 days in pads, offensive line struggles. I'll throw this graphic up there, Jack, before I send you to the chat for everybody's answer. Titans team period, 12 plays, 3 sacks. Tavondre Sweat blows up a run play, cleaned up by Roger McCreary. Shane Ray just got home for a sack on Will Levis during team period. Will Levis facing pressure nearly every drop back in 11-on-11. Right side of the O-line, the most frequent culprit. Jeffrey Simmons blew up a screen pass during team period, was all over Tajay Spears in the backfield. Jack Gibbons slices through to tackle Tony Pollard for a big loss on a sweep left. Titans O-line isn't stopping much of anything. So we asked the question, what is your concern level on the Titans offensive line struggles on a 1 through 10 scale? So Jack, I will have you head to the chat to get everybody's freak out level on this with the O-line struggling so far in camp.
A lot of high numbers in the chat. Chris Higbee starting us off on Facebook with a 10. Mario and Jonathan at 8. So is Willie. Eric Castillo's at a 7 on YouTube. Linwood checks in at a 5. Steven just above him at a 5.5. Frank Ward's at an 8. Titans Kyle Pro score 7.85. Scott Weaver also going pro on us, 9.23. Very concerned. Devin, 7.3. 10 from Vanessa. Carpet King and Florian somehow at a 1. I strive to be this relaxed and this chill about a major problem in my life, which is the Titans offensive line. Trevor Kinslow, 8. IR Hoshi, 7. 7.5 from Todd. 6 from Clayton. 7 from DeMario. Chris Higbee, we already got to you. Stephen King going full pro, 8.929. Darius Horton's at a 7.20. Caleb Meadows at an 8. We've got a 1 from Big G. A few 1s in this, which I did not expect to see. 6s from Jason and David. 4 from Guy Man. Ed's at an 8. Hello Ladies has the average Oklahoma State BAC at a 0.10. We've got Danny Whitson at a 5.9. Titans Rossi's at a 5. Jeff 7.35. Tiffany 8.5. 8, 4, 7, 7.5. Another 7.5. 7.8. Curtis is at an 8. So really high numbers throughout. Pistol 6, 9, 7, 6, 9.9. Another 9. Austin, I'm at an 8.
8.
I don't think that you can. I have no idea how you're below a 5 if you're a Titans fan right now, because like, sure, you got Lloyd Cushenberry, but at the same time, you've got a second-year guy on the at left guard, a rookie at left tackle who's making a position change, and then the right side of your offensive line where you really have no idea who's going to come out and win those jobs. And you hope somebody does it early, and you hope somebody really establishes themselves and puts their name on this job. But as of right now, it feels like Sadiq Charles is letting that opportunity slip through his fingers. It's still early. He still has a chance to come out and really put his stamp on it. But right now, I don't know how you can be below a 5. I'm at an 8. Like, I also think expectations kind of have to factor into your answer here. The reason why I'm not at a full 10 is because I expected these guys to struggle. I expect them to struggle early. Even though you've got Bill Callahan in the building, it's going to take some time. And if you can just get average offensive line play after the bye week is kind of where I'm picking my spot here, then I think the Titans have a shot to make the playoffs because of everything else, because of that defense, but because of the weapons that they brought in, because Brian Callahan can get the ball into playmakers in space and help Levis get rid of the ball early. But I'm at an 8. NPF not being out there yet, the right guard position still being totally up in the air, and just, I mean, we're talking about Shane Ray, a guy who hadn't taken a snap in the NFL in years, out there getting sacks in practice. I'm concerned, and there's nothing that's going to ease my concerns throughout camp. I have to see it in the regular season. I have to see Levis with time in the regular season so he can continue to evolve and develop as a quarterback. I'm at an 8, and I think that's the right place to be.
All right. A couple of comments. Rare Chris Frazier funny line joke. NPF already won his job. That's how bad it's been. But like,
it's so true.
In all seriousness, Nicholas Petit-Frere, by not being on the practice field, has automatically looked better because he has not been John Ojukwu. And nothing against John Ojukwu. He has been not good. Not good at all. And Shane Ray is bodying that dude out there because, you know, Shane Ray is a grown man at 31 years old. John Ojukwu is a young second-year undrafted free agent player who apparently had to gain 100 pounds his freshman year of college to play offensive line. So there is he is a young player. He's got a lot of growing to do. John Ojukwu does. Do they like his athletic upside? Sure. But right now it's not working. And before I get to some of your responses, you're being at an 8 and some of the other things there. Big G on YouTube says reason he is at a 1 is because the Titans defense will be top defense in the league. I don't think they're going to be the top defense in the league at all. I think they have a chance to be very good. And look, the Titans defense last year, I think it's a bad rep. The Titans defense last year had a chance to be a very good defense if the offense could do anything to help it out. The offense being so bad made the Titans defense look worse. The Titans defense was doing everything it could until it couldn't no more. And they broke, right? There's a lot of one-score losses last year for the Titans that were under 20 points of output. And that's because the defense was straining, holding before the dam broke at the very end and you lose by 4 points or 6 points. And so I think if the offense could do anything to help out, it would be better. So will they be a top 15 defense, Curtis? Maybe. Pistol Ramsey says top 10, though. I mean, if they can stay healthy, because I don't think they have a ton of depth. I like what I see from Kenneth Murray. I think he has been a surprising bright spot because I had questions about that free agent addition. But I don't want to spend too much time talking defense because we're talking.
I'd be disappointed. I'd be disappointed if it wasn't a top 10 defense. I'd be disappointed. I think they have plenty of talent.
I would be disappointed if it wasn't a top 16 defense because I think there's just so many things that come into play there that are variables that you can, like, you know, it should be a top half of the league defense without a doubt. And so we know that about the defense. Jack, you say that you don't think Sadiq Charles has done a good enough job to try to win the right guard spot. I honestly don't see there being much rotation with the first team at right guard. There's not a lot of rotation at all with with left tackle through right guard on the offensive line. They are working different players at right tackle with the first group, but that's it really. And so I think I feel very confident saying that Sadiq Charles is your starting right guard moving forward, unless something falls off a cliff. And Nicholas Petit-Frere is better than John Ojukwu, but I don't think he's good. I think NPF can be average, but average is below good, but maybe that's okay enough for this situation. And so my answer, you're at an 8 out of 10 for your concern level on the offensive line. I'm like right behind you at a 7.5. And the only reason that I'm a little bit lower than you is because it's early. It's the first week of practices. Bill Callahan is proven. You've got Lloyd Cushenberry, who is also proven. I really like the growth and the potential of the left side of Skoronski and Latham together. JC Latham is going through it because he's a rookie and they're throwing a bunch at it, which is a great deal. That's a good thing for JC Latham. And so I'll play this clip from Lloyd Cushenberry too, talking about what they are seeing from this Titans defense that's making it difficult on them so far.
Expect the defense to throw as many different looks at you, blitzes and things as they did on first day in pads.
Yeah, we've been seeing that since OTAs. And if you see, Coach Denard's background coming from Baltimore, that's what they do. So we've been preparing for a lot of different looks, and it's going to help us going into the season because I don't think it's going to be many third down looks that's going to challenge us as much as they've challenged us so far.
Good.
And I believe that. I believe that the Titans' offensive line is going to have an easier time dictating in real games against other opponents because of how this defense is setting things up. And let's also remember this. Remember Brian Callahan said after the first couple of days on offense, they're not really doing anything down the field. They're working on their short passing game to intermediate passing game and then building on top of it. So you're also getting wide receivers playing against aggressive defensive backs in a phone booth because they are truly not yet taking the top off. I think they're getting closer to that. They threw down the field more the last couple of days than they did the previous 3 practices that we were out there. So it's starting to open up some, and that's just going to make it even harder for DBs to cover because they've been suffocating up there tight on these wide receivers. That's been making it tough. And the D-line knows, hey, they're going to throw the ball quick. We got to get after them quick. So they're sending 7 different types of smoke at the O-line and at Will Levis. I will say this. I saw a beautiful, beautiful play yesterday from Will Levis to Josh Wiley. And I'm going to describe it as cleanly. Fans were there, so I can kind of say more, which is good, but I couldn't video it. But there was a situation. They had 1st and 10, I believe. Maybe it was 2nd and 9 from like the 28-yard line going into the end zone. You saw Josh Wiley was lined up in the slot-ish. And maybe it was Chig. I think it was Chig, sorry. It was Chig lined up in the slot. Roger McCreary was hanging over him, was like in the slot right there. Will Levis did a hard count. Roger showed a blitz step. They pointed it out, and then the snap happened. All of a sudden, Roger McCreary goes. Arden Key drops because Denard doesn't blitz a lot. He sends 4, but you don't know which 4. So Arden Key drops to try to blanket Chig, who goes right down the seam, and Levis, identifying this, threw a beautiful ball right over the octopus that is Arden Key. Long arms, long legs, just doing this. Threw a perfect ball down the seam, bang, right in the hand of Chig, right inside of the safety, 1st and goal at the 4-yard line. And it happened quick. And I thought that was a really positive side of Levis working against a high-pressure defense and the offense recognizing where pressure was coming from and taking advantage of that. Because that play was open because of Roger showing and Levis getting that call. So, again, there's good to come out of it. But they are throwing so much at him. I'm not a believer in NPF. I think he's better than John Ojukwu at right tackle. But I still think this offensive line is going to be a consistent issue throughout the year, but I really do believe in the foundation from Latham and also Skoronski on the left side, and Cushenberry will get better as this comes to.
Mm-hmm. And if you have one side of the offensive line where you're fairly confident in, I feel like that makes it easier on Callahan and just where he deploys his tight ends. If they need help on the right side, send a tight end over there. But like you said, John Ojukwu, you don't want to be in a spot where you're relying on John Ojukwu, but you have to be realistic about this thing. NPF has had 2 surgeries on 2 very important joints since November. That is not a good sign. So are you comfortable with your depth over there? Right now, I am not. Not to mention I'm not comfortable with the starter over there. But I do like that Denard Wilson's bringing pressure, right? Because this offensive line, it's like sitting in the on-deck circle and swinging a bat with a donut. You swing that bat with the donut, feels a little heavier. You get up to the plate, you can put a better swing on it because you've been swinging with more weight, warming up. And hopefully that's what it feels like for the Titans offensive line by the time the regular season gets here, or live games in the preseason where I'm sure they're going to get plenty of work. If they can handle pressure in practice against, Big Jeff, T'Vondre Sweat, Harold Landry, Kenneth Murray's a force. You've got Jamal Adams bringing pressure from times. Like, this is a formidable, blitzing pressure unit, So I think them working against that's only going to pay dividends down the road. And it may cost them looking terrible in practice. But Shane Ray should not be a disrupting force. That guy has not – he's not taken a snap in the NFL since 2018.
Jack,
he should not be whooping the right tackle.
Sam and I tomorrow are going to talk more about Shane Ray, but I will give you a little bit of a piece. I think Shane Ray can play. And I'm not saying he's a starter. I'm not saying Shane Ray is going to have 6 or more sacks this year. I'm not saying that. But I think Shane Ray's got something, and he's got something to prove. And I'm not judging Shane Ray against John Ojukwu. I watched Shane Ray and the rest of the edge rushers in individual practice period yesterday. And I think we have some of that video on our Instagram story. If you guys haven't seen that, A to Z Sports on Instagram. Shane Ray's hands are so strong and violent. When he throws his hands at an offensive lineman, and in this case, at the assistant edge coach or Ben Bloom, the outside linebackers coach, who's wearing a bunch of pads looking like he's getting practice against a police dog. Like, that's what Ben Bloom looks like out there. Like, he's wearing the police dog suit. Shane Ray's out there throwing karate chops, throwing forearms and strong hands and punches. And his hands are so, you can tell he's a grown-ass man. And you look at Rashad Weaver, and I'm comparing Shane Ray's hands strength versus the other guys. His hands are so quick and violent. It's very impressive. So I think Shane Ray's a guy to actually watch.
But do you agree that with Key suspension, and I imagine this will probably be a big topic tomorrow, do the Titans need to make another move there? Because if you're relying on Shane Ray for the first 6 games, that's also putting yourself in a spot to fail.
We will talk about that tomorrow. Sam talked to Denard Wilson about that. Sam has talked to Ben Bloom about that too. And so, I guess not about that because the Key suspension didn't come out until after Ben Bloom talked, but there's some conversation about this. And so we're going to figure out what are the options the Titans have in-house and out-of-house to go add to the edge position because of Arden Key's suspension. So we'll get to all of that. I don't want to say too much.
I get it.
I don't want to say too much. But I like Shane Ray, and I wasn't I'll tell Sam my same Shane Ray opinion there too. And yeah, Stone Cold too says Shane Ray hadn't played since 2018. He hasn't played an NFL game since 2018.
He's playing in Canada.
So he's been playing football. It's not like he's been on the couch, which is important. There's a big difference in that.
No, you're totally right. And look, this is a guy that I believe he was a first-round pick in his day.
Yep.
I see an MIZ comment in the chat. Austin Huff would surely love that, but we cannot tell him that happened.
And I will not finish that chant.
Yeah, yeah, that's totally fair. Look, if Shane Ray comes out of nowhere to put up 6 sacks this year, massive win. Credit to Rand Carthon for digging up that gym. But I just like the expectations that I have for Shane Ray are a sack and a half. I don't expect him to get a whole lot of run out there because I do think you can do a whole lot better. There's still a handful of pass rushers that I'm interested in that are still on the market.
Okay, and we'll talk about that some tomorrow with Sam. Offensive line conversation. Look, again, I'm excited about the offensive weapons this team has, whether it's the 2 running backs in Tony and Tajay or the 2 tight ends in Chig and Josh Wiley, on top of the receivers that they have. And look, Treylon Burks, as much as we've talked about him, it's been a clean, quiet camp. And Treylon Burks has been running more routes than just a go route and making a play. Treylon Burks is running real routes. I saw him yesterday. Looks good physically. It looks like he's an NFL athlete ready to go out there, chiseled and has dropped some body fat. I'm damn sure about that. But he looks good. Tyler Boyd making plays. D-Hop is still D-Hop. And Calvin Ridley is the freakiest route runner I've ever seen with my own eyes. And that's another, like, he is just so weird with how he runs routes, and you can't stop it unless you're Jarvis Brownlee in one-on-one drills, which we'll talk about that, sure, too, because Jarvis Brownlee has been a fun thing to get into. But all of that said, in team drills, you haven't seen it come to fruition because the offensive line isn't allowing it to happen. In 7-on-7, you're seeing Tyler Boyd making a jump ball pluck away from Roger McCreary. You see Treylon Burks adjust to a throw behind his shoulder, go up and get the football and get 2 feet on the sideline. You see Josh Wiley and Chig making other plays. And so you see it in 7-on-7. So it's not really a Levis problem because the 7-on-7 throws are on time with the offense and are not just playing flag football, holding it, waiting for somebody to get open for a coverage sack. No, you're seeing it work in the right time and spacing. But in 11-on-11, the offensive line is allowing pressure right out of the gates.
So let me ask you a question then, because Brian Callahan's talked about how no deep shots really from Levis. They're emphasizing the short to intermediate throws. Do you think that he's accounting for this offensive line in that philosophy, or is it just simply because Will Levis needs to become more accurate in those zones?
No, I think it's like, Will Levis can throw a nice deep ball, and Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Treylon Burks and others can get deep. Like there was a play where I guess it was Tuesday's practice. Tony Pollard caught and I think Titans posted on social media. Tony Pollard out of the backfield caught a really great throw from Will Levis in 11-on-11 down the field for what could have been a 70-yard touchdown over Roger. And look, I've said Roger getting beat a couple times down the field, but Roger's having a good camp too. So I like where Roger McCreary's at. But, you get in practice, like there's so many reps, there's so many plays. Everybody's going to win and lose on every day. But I think starting with the short throws is they're trying to build on the offense. They're trying to throw their fastball and then develop the changeup, develop the breaking ball. It's if you can win with a fastball, do that. Now, once you have the guy expecting the heat, which I think is the quick game passing, now you've got your off speed and your breaking ball that could be all these different concepts that we've seen the Bengals win with over the last several years.
Great cross sport analogy right there. Love that. Got to develop the secondary pitches.
Absolutely. Okay. Speaking of secondary pitches, that makes no sense. We're going to go ahead and transition into the Jeffrey Simmons story. And so this, I think, is the only fair thing for us to do, because yesterday we asked one word to describe Jeffrey Simmons at Titans practice. On Tuesday, my word was embarrassing, because I thought Jeffrey Simmons embarrassed the Titans organization. So we will wrap up this story of Jeffrey Simmons and Buck Rising, because honestly, Jeffrey Simmons did the right thing and deserves the recognition for doing so. But first, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn for all of your health coverage needs. boneandjointtn.org. They are the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who you can turn to. And that is the folks at the Bone and Joint Institute. I've had a couple injuries over the last 3-ish years, and the Bone and Joint Institute has helped me learn about that. How can I recover with some physical therapy, but also giving me some in-home things and exercises I can do to make sure I continue to manage whatever that is that's bothering me, to have it work through and heal, to get back to doing the regular exercises and life activity that I want to do. And if don't sit on the sidelines with injuries that are lagging back pain or shoulder pain or whatever it may be from your past, make sure you take care of it. If you have a son or daughter who gets hurt playing youth sports, the Bone and Joint Institute can take care of them as well, as they have all the right resources and the experts in Franklin, Tennessee, and also across Williamson County. Book an appointment today. It's super easy to do. boneandjointtn.org.
BetMGM.com, king of sports books. I was looking at Heisman odds yesterday, Austin, and I know Tennessee bettors can't bet on college player props, but I was looking through it, and there are a lot of great quarterbacks out there. Nico Iamaleava, right? Somewhere around there. Half credit. Plus 1,500 to win the Heisman. So if you don't live in Tennessee, you don't have a sports book, you want to bet on that, download BetMGM, use bonus code A to Z Sports, get up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Great deal going on right now. The NFL season's on the horizon. It's finally here tonight. First preseason game. If you want to bet win totals, division winners, conference winners, anything like that, player props, it's all up at BetMGM, and it's super easy to find. Great app to navigate for new users. They make it really easy for you. When you sign up, don't forget to use our promo code ATOZ Sports.
All right, so Jeffrey Simmons, again, to go off the topic that I brought up at the very beginning of the show for those who jumped in late, it is only fair for us as a media outlet with a platform that people watch to cover stories from all sides. We're not trying to squeeze everything out of this, and because it involved an A to Z Sports employee with Buck Rising on his 104.5 The Zone radio show, of course, we are more involved with it than others. But when it is a national storyline picked up by TMZ, Fox News, the New York Post, that's being talked about on national radio shows that I heard with my own ears yesterday morning, and when Jeffrey Simmons and Buck Rising have a conversation to start practice yesterday, and we saw that image from Paul of them talking it out, it is only fair for us to follow and cover this story and give Jeffrey Simmons the ability and the airtime to speak his side of things. So here was Jeffrey Simmons talking to Nashville media yesterday after practice.
Eventful day yesterday. You want to?
Well, before y'all get started, we all know what happened yesterday. A lot of y'all have been here since I've been here. So y'all know me. That's not who I am. That's not who I want to be seen as. I talked to Buck. We have an understanding. I have an understanding where I'm coming from. I have an understanding where he's coming from. He have a job. I have a job. At the end of the day, I take full accountability of my actions on the field. I mean, that'll never happen again with me. Like I said, I always talk about that switch, when to turn it on, when to turn it off. I was kind of still had it on coming off the field, of course, with the way practice went. But that, like I said, that's not me. It'll never happen again. And to all you guys, like I said, I apologize. And not because it's hit social media, but it's because who I am. That's not my character. And I think from here on out, like I said, from that point, like I said, I spoke on about it. I'm ready to move forward. Any football questions, I'm here to answer.
Is that part of being a leader too, Jeffrey? That setting an example for others, is that where that's coming from also?
Most definitely. We talked about everyone know I'm a leader on the team, and I don't want none of my teammates saying that. And like I said, that's not who I am. You know, I look at myself first, because being a leader, you have to point the finger to yourself first. And like I said, me and Buck talk. We have an understanding. And like I said, I told him where I was coming from. He told me where he was coming from. Like I said, we're ready to move on.
You seem very angry with us in general lately. What's the root of that? What can we do?
I just said, that's not me. We're going to move forward from that. I'm ready to focus on football. I just want to win. Like I said, I'm not with all the social media stuff. I got a text message even from a PR lady, just even delete social media while I'm in camp. Because like I said, I don't want to get the text message. Told my family, don't send it to me no more. None of that. But like I said, I'm not angry at you guys. I don't have nothing against you guys. You guys have a job. I have a job. We know you guys are going to critique us. I mean, we're not going to like it. And like I told earlier, like, we also have a right to speak our opinion as well, just like you guys. So I'm not angry with no one. Like I said, some of the stuff I just don't like with some of the stuff be said. That's my opinion. So like I said, I'm just ready to move on from that. Like I said, yesterday is unacceptable, and we came back to practice today. I had a great day.
In general, do you need to pay less attention to social media moving forward?
Focus on football.
When it came to on the field yesterday and just the intensity.
Jeff, it continued, and so He continued, was asked more questions, and he said that Amy Adams Strunk did not talk to her yesterday or before that. And so that was not a thing. He obviously did talk to the Titans media relations and PR, and obviously he got a suggestion, hey, I'll let you just maybe delete that off your phone for training camp. And he also said that his family is who sent him Buck's tweet. And so he also told his family, don't send it to me anymore because that's not how he wants to operate. And so, look, that's Jeff's, and Corey says, a professional answer. It was a professional answer. He says that's not who he is or who he wants to be portrayed as. Unfortunately, that's what TMZ and New York Post and Fox News and others picked up as Jeff. And I think Jeff will do what he did when the Titans drafted him and was saying he was going to make Amy Adams Strunk proud of drafting him. So far, he's done that. He had a blip. It was a bad look. And Jack, I'll let you have some air here in a second, but I want Jeffrey Simmons and every Titans player to feel like they could talk to a media member about what they said about them and to have a conversation. But it has to be in the right place, in the right time. And for example, that's this. This is the right place in the right time. It's off to the side before or after a practice with no cameras around other than Paul's. It is obviously this is how you do it, and that's how it's been done in the past. And I think that's how it's going to continue moving forward. And for everybody jumping on Paul's question of, well, it seems like you've been angry at us recently, that's a fair question from Paul because Jeffrey Simmons denied answering a question about what he tweeted a couple weeks ago last week. He said, I'm not talking about what happened on Twitter. When Jeffrey Simmons tweeted about all this Titans media, he's bookmarking everything they're saying about hating on this team. And he refused to answer it last week. And so Paul answered or asked the question. And look, Jeff knows we have a job to do just like he does. And I hope this doesn't have Titans players locked down and not want to talk to all of us because that's not good for the fans.
Yeah, first things first here. Like, great on Jeff for squashing this because right now, you're in a new system with a new regime. Football is the main thing. You've got to keep the main thing. And that got away from Big Jeff after an emotional practice yesterday. Buck did not deserve that reaction, and Jeffrey Simmons did step out of line. But what a great way to kind of clean this up. And that's how a leader should respond, right? So that to me, that apology, that owning up to it, that showed me that Jeffrey Simmons, understands what it looks like to be a leader and how you have to act if you want to be respected as a leader. The other thing, if you're looking on social media, and I commend Jeff for taking steps to kind of root out some of these issues, because if you're spending so much time on social media, like if you're looking for something to get upset about on social media, you're eventually going to find it, right? And that's tough for professional athletes. And one thing that I can't relate to, and I imagine nobody in the chat or nobody with A to Z can probably relate to, is being a professional athlete, leaving a practice like that where you're involved in not one but two physical altercations, and you've got this, you've kind of got this in the back of your mind. Buck said maybe one thing that I didn't agree with. Like flipping that switch on and off. You hear Shaq and Charles Barkley talk about it on Inside the NBA. Like, you can't flip it on and off. You got to keep it. You got to keep it on. You got to keep it off. So I think it's big for Jeff to understand that, hey, like, I can't let what happened on that practice field dictate how I act towards the media. It's a very mature response from Big Jeff, and I'm excited that we can all flush it and move on and start talking about football. So great on Big Jeff to clean this up as quickly as possible. Have that conversation with Buck the very next morning, because I'm sure, like, after a conversation like that, emotions probably still haven't all the way cooled down. So for them to be able to squash that beef, good on both of them. Let's talk Titans football.
Yeah, and Ken says Jeff is human. Buck has crap talked every day, people in the chat. Now he's surprised when he gets the energy back. Let's clear this up. Buck has no problem with players coming to him with criticism of what he says. Buck is not surprised that he got that energy from Jeff. It's where it happened is what was the problem. Like, can we please come to if Buck and Jeffrey Simmons can come to an understanding, then how can Ken and people that think the way that Ken is thinking about Buck in this situation also come to the understanding that Buck is not against the conversation? That's the point. Buck shows up as to the Titan facility every time he can get out there if it doesn't interfere with his radio show. And sometimes he records things for his radio show so he can go to Titans practice. He's there. He's in the building. He's talking to these players face to face, so they have the ability to do that. It's really easy when you talk crap about a team and you're not there to own up to it. That's the point of having people on the ground in the facility covering the team, because you have the ability to say what your opinion is about football and then to go into the locker room with those players. And if they see it and they have a problem with it, they can come to you and say, hey, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, and have a conversation about it. That's it. And so Buck's not running away from anything. He's there every day. He's there every day. Players follow him, know what he says, and read what he says. And he has a chance to have it be brought back to him every time he's there. Just not live on radio when kids are around and saying words that are not FCC appropriate.
And another part of this is like, I really do think Big Jeff cares how he's perceived. And I feel like a guy who can control a whole lot of his own narrative just by playing well on the football field. Like, you can't control what other people tweet and other people think. So that's probably hard for him, a guy who's always been able to control his own narrative, except for, the one mistake he made a long, long time ago. Like, Big Jeff, if he sticks around long enough, he's going to have 98 in the rafters. There's no doubt about it. He's going to be in the Ring of Honor. Big Jeff's been great with the community. I mean, everything that Big Jeff has done since being drafted by the Titans has been fantastic. And I feel like he got a little caught up in not being able to control the social media narrative about this team because he feels responsible. Like, the last 2 years had to have been eating at him as the best player on the team and a leader on the team. Like, it can't be easy for him to kind of go through that and see how people talk about the team that you lead. So this has kind of been a learning experience for him. I think it's going to be great for Big Jeff in the long run because, look, the Titans probably aren't going to win the Super Bowl this year, right? We can all kind of agree with that. So having to go through some of these years, having to figure out how to lead when your team is not leading, is a part of figuring out who you are as a leader. And I think it's going to go a long way to help him out throughout his career. So, look, again, just glad that this beef has been squashed because there are much bigger things to worry about with getting everybody on the same page before week 1 rolls around.
Yep. And this is the 12th season I'll be covering the Titans. I've seen a lot of players going at a lot of different media members that are still covering the team and that have moved on from covering the team. Stuff happens. And for, Ken, who says sometimes your words get your ass kicked, I will say this, Ken, and I'll ask anybody, when's the last time, when can you remember a professional athlete getting physical with a media member?
Kenny Rogers, former Tigers pitcher, super random pull, pushed a cameraman one time. Other than that,
like,
I can't remember.
Exactly. It doesn't happen. Like, and like moving a camera out, like, is not what I'm talking about, right? Like, if the camera's right there and a player says like camera out of the way, like, that's different. When is a player ever, and Ken says new era. No, Ken, dude, you're wrong. Go back. What era you want to go with? What era you want to go with where a professional athlete has ever gotten physical with a media member? It doesn't happen because they know it's lawsuits on lawsuits. It's losing their jobs and their career, and it's not going to happen. You can scream and yell and everything. I've seen Wesley Woodyard get as close to Paul Kaharski's face without touching it as is physically possible. And it didn't go further than that. I've seen Jarrell Casey get insanely mad at a former Tennessean reporter, Jason Wolf, and it didn't go any further than that. That is how it works. Jeffrey Simmons did not get physical with Buck. And all you guys are like, man, you guys, Buck's going to get his ass kicked. No, he's not going to get his ass kicked. Come on now.
Yeah, Pac-Man threatened Jim White. He said he'd show up at his house. I remember that. That's talked about it. That's still talked about at Holiday. That was very real for Jim because I'm sure you talked about it as I have heard Jim talk about that. But hey, luckily it did not happen. So there you go. That is the situation.
pro athletes don't get physical with reporters. And if you want to bring up Jim Everett attacking Jim Rome, again, there was a table tossed and a charge, but there was no physical, actual hands-on Jim Rome. It was a very
Call me Chris one more time.
Chris one more time. What a classic. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap up this show. It is now time for the Magic Bucket. I still got to get the Magic Bucket out of its home. So here we go. Magic Bucket time to wrap up this Thursday. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Go make them a part of your new car buying process. They'll help you out in Lebanon or beyond. WilsonCountyHyundai.com for your new ride. Jack, if you would, just give me about 15 seconds, and I will grab the Magic Bucket, and then we can play the game to wrap up this Thursday.
I've got some perfect filler content here. Rome was talking about Rome, and Patricia says, I don't see how he has a job in sports radio. I don't know if that's about Jim Rome, but one of the craziest things, Google Jim Rome's salary, and your jaw will be on the floor. Jim Rome still makes a king's ransom doing this thing, and part of it's because he's so controversial, and because he does talk some crap, like Carpet King and Flooring saying. That was the most shocking Google result I think that I've had in the last year. So check that out when you have some time. It's pretty amazing.
What should I Google?
How much Jim Rome brings in a year?
Oh yeah,
the guy still rakes it in.
No, without a doubt. All right, Lucas Burks brings something up, and you know what? Lucas is correct. I have not done my eye patch. So Jack, I think you're off the hook this week. I think pulling 2 is correct. I have to look.
Man, that's kind of boring. I like the rush. Gives me a nice rush to start.
Well, I mean, if I can pull 2 and you can still have one if you want. But like I think if Jeffrey Simmons is speaking accountability from leaders, then you know what? As a leader of this company, I have to speak accountability and I have to pull 2 because I have not done the eye patch. So I do agree with you, Lucas. So this is for me. This first pull is for me. All right. I have to wear a wig on the next show. So maybe I'll do a wig and an eye patch tomorrow with Sam. I just have to, I think I actually have a wig that would go well with the eye patch.
Santa?
No.
A Santa wig, perhaps?
I do have a Santa wig. Because of the Magic Bucket, I actually have a couple wigs. Weird, but do you want this one to be you or do you want this one to be my second?
I'll go.
All right. You have to do a Donald Trump impression for 30 seconds.
Okay, I think I can do this.
All right. Do you want me to pull my next one?
I feel like everybody's had some practice doing some presidential impersonations over the last few months.
For sure.
You pull your next one.
All right, let me get a stopwatch ready too. All right, I have a stopwatch ready for when you're ready. All right. Have you ever been told you look like someone famous, and who was it?
Gosh,
have I done this?
Humbling. I've done it, and it was extremely humbling. Jim Gaffigan. Jesus Christ. It still sticks with me.
Okay. I will think of the famous person that I have been told I look like. But I will let you do Donald Trump, and I will start the 30-second clock when you begin your Donald Trump impression.
Okay. Jeffrey Simmons, he's great. He's good. He's not talked about being great. A lot of people in the media, they really like to say he's not that great, but he is really great. If you're a Titans fan, you understand. But if you're on the outside and you're looking on the other side of the fence, you might not think Big Jeff is great, but he's the greatest. He's the greatest at his position. He's the greatest in the NFL. And I'm telling you, I'm going to have him down to Mar-a-Lago, and we're going to go play 18 together because Big Jeff is just so great. Not my best, but you get the cadence.
All right, you're also 5 seconds short.
I was doing that, and my hand gestures were below the table. I should have.
You got to bring the hands up high. So there you go. And IR says, "Damn, that's a bad impression."
Yeah, it sounds way better when I'm doing it after like a beer or two.
Adam says that was solid. So okay, so the key to unlocking your impressions is a beer or two.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Doesn't everybody get better at impressions after like a beer or two or a drink or two?
I would think so. Yeah.
Jeffrey
For sure.
Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons is going to make billions and billions of dollars. He's a great player, the best player.
Oh man. Okay, so I will wear a wig tomorrow on the show with an eye patch. So that'll happen. Excuse me. And the famous person I look like. I will start this off. I'll give you an answer here in a second. But there is a Titans player that people say I look like that I do not look like at all, and that is Kyle Phillips. Rashid brings up Kyle Phillips. I look nothing like Kyle Phillips. Kyle Phillips looks nothing like me. Say what?
What? I just said Kyle Phillips is handsome.
No, it's not about him looking bad or looking good. It's just we look nothing alike. We don't have the same head shape at all. We're just both white guys with the same colored hair. Like that's literally all it is.
You're both Patriots slot receivers is what you both are.
Yeah, like that's I look nothing like Kyle Phillips. Nothing.
So do you have a guy? Do you have a guy in the chamber?
Let me see if I can find a picture. Because there is a player that looks like me if I were on steroids. Like, so a very clear, like, if I was as jacked up as I possibly could be, then I would look like this particular player. Hold on. Let me I gotta find it.
Buck looks a whole lot like Andrew. Buck might be Andrew Luck, to be honest.
So
Kirk Cousins not a bad shout.
For me?
Not terrible.
Kirk Cousins. I don't see it. So let me I'm trying to get a picture pulled up here that fits the screen.
Mike Greenberg, I don't really know. I feel like maybe the eyes, but I don't see Mike Greenberg a whole lot.
No, Mike Greenberg is not the answer either. Hold on a second. I'm working on this picture.
I see more Max Kellerman than Mike Greenberg.
Max Kellerman.
No, but I'm saying more so than Mike Greenberg. It's not an identical comparison. But
all right, I'm working on airdropping this now. This is from when he was at college, but it is NFL tight end Foster Moreau.
Oh, okay.
Now hold on, and I have lost weight since this, but I feel like we have very similar facial structure. So I'm trying to pull this picture up here.
Very smart of you too to compare yourself to a 6'4" NFL tight end.
Again, like I'm talking like facial structure. Facial structure.
That's the worst stat ever. Oh, breaks my heart.
I'm sorry. I meant to delete it because we have too many overlays. So this is the worst way to do live video shows. So, all right, here we go. It's loading.
Chat, you're acting up today.
I think Foster Moreau. I mean, this is when he was in college.
Oh yeah. Okay. That plays. His neck is bigger than his face, though.
Yeah, like for sure. But like, I think if you're talking about like bone structure of cheeks, eyes, nose, obviously he has. Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, if I
hair's going in the same direction.
Yep. If I were as like jacked up as I could possibly be, then Foster Moreau and I would look very similar from a facial structure, not a height and weight or anything.
Okay, I'll give you that. Because I don't have anything off the top of my head. I need to start thinking about that.
Yeah, and like in Mazra, like, no, minus the muscles, maybe. That's what I said, guys. That's what I said. Like, I'm not trying to compare myself physically to an NFL tight end. I'm not that dense.
Austin could take him.
No. And Denise says, "Is Foster Moreau famous?" Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Yeah, he's like on fantasy football benches,
Yeah.
In deeper leagues perhaps.
For sure. So, yeah.
Famous to me.
And Foster Moreau now has a beard and he has longer hair, so that's where it doesn't work as much now. But that's the one thing I have. But anyway, all right. that'll be it for us on this Thursday. No practice again tomorrow for the media. We'll be back out there on Saturday and Sunday. I know Sam's got some practice observations up on A2ZSports.com, so make sure you check that out. Make sure you hit that like button too. Like the show before you go on Facebook and on YouTube. That goes a long way for us. And Buck Rising will be back to wrap up his week on A2Z Sports Primetime tonight at 7 p.m. So we'll talk to you guys later on. Appreciate it as always.
Tighten Up Pod with Mike Herndon. Don't miss it.